Yes, I'm delighted to be joined by Beth Tweddle on this very special moment, 100 days to go until the 2012 Olympic Games. Firstly, Beth, just how does that sound to you, 100 days to go?
It's all getting so close now, but it's still quite hard for us because we've got the Europeans coming up in another 3 weeks' time, and then we've got the Olympic trials. So everyone's getting excited about the Olympics, but we can't because we're not actually selected yet.
Now, obviously, you've competed at two Olympics. What were those experiences like for you?
The Olympics is every athlete's dream. If you're in an Olympic sport, that's what you train for, that's what you get out of bed for, and it's just an amazing opportunity. I went to Athens and Beijing, and it is just a once in a lifetime opportunity. The atmosphere when you're competing, the amount of kit that you get given, and the friends that you make, they're friends for life.
Obviously, this Olympics being in London is slightly different. How have you found the build-up so far with it being in Britain?
The build-up's totally different to any other Olympics. A year out, there was massive celebrations, whereas a year out before Beijing and Athens, there was only really the athletes that kind of knew it was a year to go. So there's a lot more media behind it, a lot more support for athletes ourselves. So it's a real big buzz behind it, but obviously it can be quite nerve-wracking as well.
Do you think there's also maybe increased expectations on you this year, do you think? Or are you feeling more kind of favourable support, I guess?
I think there's going to be expectation on every British athlete. You saw what the ticket sales were like. Every member of the public, including every member of my family and friends, wanted a ticket to any sport, and obviously all my friends and family wanted to be at the gymnastics, but not everyone was able to. So it's going to be an amazing opportunity, and obviously there is that pressure there, but you've got to put that behind us.
And we said obviously there's 100 days to go. That doesn't sound a very long time, but realistically it is quite a long time, isn't it? What have you got to achieve over the next 100 days?
We've still, like I was saying earlier, we've still got the European Championship, so at the moment that's our main focus. We've still got another trial tomorrow with that competition in mind, and then as soon as we get back from the Europeans, we've got another 3 or 4 trials. Obviously the British Championships up in Liverpool, my hometown, so there's still a lot for us to focus on, and it's still, although it's so close, it is still so far away.
And this is kind of the time of year when people start looking at each other's routines, and obviously everyone's fascinated, particularly by your bars routine. Can you just tell us how you develop a routine like that and how much work goes into it?
It takes a lot of work, obviously. I work closely with my coach, Amanda. It just takes so many hours to perfect every skill. I mean, the dismount that I've just put in at the beginning of this year, I've had it in the gym for about 3 or 4 years, but it's took me that long to be able to put it at the end of my bar routine. So it's just a lot of tedious numbers, keep going. Sometimes it fails, sometimes it works, but you just have to get back up and have another go.
Obviously, gym fans like to speculate about what might happen and who might win medals. How much do you look at the opposition? How much do you know what other people's routines are going to be like?
You tend to know roughly what they're doing, but until the actual competition you can't tell exactly what their routines are going to be, and at the end of the day I can only control what routine I'm going to put out on the day. So it's nice to be able to see kind of what they're scoring, and you can see where you are in comparison leading up to competitions, but you can't rely totally on that.
You mentioned your bars routine, your floor routine. What have you been working on there?
I've actually changed the music now. It's going to be something big and British, so you'll just have to wait and see to see what it is when it's debuted.
You mentioned obviously your relationship with Amanda. Just tell us about how that works, because obviously there's some kind of special relationship there to have had the success you've had.
Yeah, I mean, I've been with Amanda since I was 12 years old, and obviously I'm 27 now, so it is a very long relationship that we've had, but she became like my second mum. She knows me inside out. As soon as I walk in the gym, she can tell whether I'm in a good mood or a bad mood, and I think it's vice versa as well. And she understands. When I first moved to her, it was kind of yes sir, no sir. I did exactly what she told me. Whereas now it's a lot more of a two-way relationship. She'll sort of say to me, what do you think about doing this? How do you feel about doing this? And the only reason that I've been able to carry on so long is because I've got that such good relationship. She knows I'm not that little girl. I can't do the same amount of numbers that the youngsters do, and she has adapted my training programme to enable me to carry on.
You mentioned adapting your training programme. People obviously know that you do 2 pieces, but you must work just as hard as ever, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I made a decision after Beijing to cut down from 4 operators to 2, and that was with the support of the national system. They knew and I knew that if I wanted to try for 2012, then there was no way my body was going to be able to hold out with the 4 apparatus. And obviously the 2 that I was specialising in was bars and floor. So I made that decision thinking that I might retire after 2009, and then the results just kept getting better and better. So I just kept going with London in mind.
Working those two pieces in particular, it must be quite severe on the body. Do you sometimes wish you weren't doing bars because I bet your hands are ripped up, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I've got used to the pain in my hands, and you kind of learn how to look after them. I think I go through tons of electrician's tape and chalk and you name it, Sudocrem, just to try and look after them. But gymnastics is a hard sport on the body, but luckily I've got a good medical support team behind me, my physios, the doctors. As soon as anything's kind of brought up, they tend to it and hopefully keep me in one piece ready for the summer.
Well, let's hope so, with 100 days to go especially. So I'm honoured to be joined by Amanda Reddin, head coach of the City Liverpool Gymnastics Club, personal coach, of course, to Beth Tweddle, also to Hannah Wheeler and Jenny Pinches. Amanda, thank you for joining us. We've just been speaking to Beth about your special relationship. How do you sum up the relationship you have with Beth, and why do you think it works so well?
It probably works so well just because we've been together for so long, and obviously she still has the respect of a 26-year-old, but still as a female gymnast, that she'll listen to the advice that I give. But it has changed a lot through the years, and you know, it's a bit more give and take now, but she still, at the end of the day, she listens to what's been told.
Do you think your personalities are similar?
Probably. I think we both want the same things without actually setting a target or whatever. She knows what's expected of her from me, and vice versa.
What do you think it is about her that makes her such a great gymnast?
Just total dedication to the sport, basically, and she still loves the sport that she's been doing for obviously many years now, and you know, she still wants it, so she's willing to work and give 100% most of the time.
We mentioned you don't just coach Beth, you have Hannah and Jenny as well. What's it like coaching the three of them, and how do they differ, and how do you manage kind of three gymnasts, I guess?
Obviously it's really good because I'm getting variety. I mean, they get the same from me, as in I'm the same person stood there saying the same things day in, day out or whatever. But it's good variety, and they're all very different, and they keep me on my toes.
What are the challenges about coaching each of them in particular? Are there any particular challenges or traits that each of them have, would you say?
They're all just different personalities. They've all got their sights set on what they want to achieve personally, and hopefully not just personally, but hopefully for the Great Britain team and also for the City of Liverpool.
We're here obviously because there's 100 days to go. So what work has to be done for the girls, and I guess with yourself, over the next 100 days?
Okay, well obviously, like Beth said earlier on, we've still got to aim for the European Championships. We've still got trials to do for that, and we've still got preparation for certain elements, and for we've got a few niggles going on a few other bodies that need to get sorted, so it's just day by day.
Final question for you, Amanda. Being an Olympian yourself, how excited are you about this Olympics?
It is. You've got to keep it, you know, it's got to still take a back step, as in it is an Olympic Games, but at the end of the day, it is just another competition. All you want as a coach is for the gymnasts that you're working with, whether it be your personal gymnast, a GB gymnast, the team that you're involved in, you need them to deliver their routine, put their arm up, deliver the routine, get off, and hopefully get a good score at the end of it.
Yeah, I have a handful of questions here, Beth, so prepare yourself. Thank you ever so much, everyone that sent them in. Beth, the first one, let's crack straight into it, is from Libby. She wants to know, how old were you when you started gymnastics, and at what age did you think you had a chance of making an Olympics?
I first started gymnastics when I was 7. Basically, I was a very hyperactive child, and my parents needed to sort of wear me out to be able to sleep at night. I tried swimming, I tried ballet, I tried horse riding, and it was my dad's friends said, why don't you bring her along? My 2 daughters do gymnastics and they loved it, and I wasn't the biggest fan at first, but once I did my first competition, I absolutely loved it. And as for Olympics, I was probably about 17 when I realised that I could actually go to an Olympics, and I don't remember the transition from doing it as fun as a kid to sort of taking it into a career.
Charlotte's with the next question. She wants to know, have you ever felt like quitting gymnastics? And if so, what made you carry on?
There are hard days in the gym. I mean, we train 30 hours a week, so it can be pretty full on, and sometimes when you're injured or a skill isn't quite going right, you just think, what is this all worth? Why am I doing it? But the motivation is probably when you're standing on that medal podium, or you finally achieve that skill in the gym, and it makes it all worthwhile. And obviously this past 4 years has been a long 4 years, but winning the world title in 2009 in the O2, which is where the Olympics is going to be, that's been a big motivation.
Gymnast Stalker with the next tweet, which is interesting. They want to know, what's your current start value on bars and what changes have been made? You know, you don't want to reveal all your secrets here, so I'll let you answer that however you wish.
It depends. I mean, recently at a World Cup in Doha, on the first day of competition for qualification, I performed the new routine with the double-double dismount, and that had a 7 difficulty. And then the following day, I did the routine that I did from the team final at the World Championships, and that was a 7-1. We're still playing around with different routines, mainly so that I'm not just doing the same routine over and over again. It gives me a bit of variation so that things don't get stale. So as for what start value is going to be performed at Europeans and hopefully Olympics, you'll just have to watch this space.
That's fair enough. Jane has the next question. How did you feel the first time you went to a gym club? Can you remember
scared.
back then?
What are you trying to say? I'm too old. No, I'd say I was a little bit scared. I think I had always been in the hockey club because that's what my parents did. They did hockey, my brother did hockey, and so from a young age I grew up with a hockey stick in my hand, and there was always people I knew around me, whereas the first time I went to gymnastics, although there was those 2 girls that I went with, I was in a different group to them, so I was kind of on my own. So I think the first initial feeling was fear of just being left by myself. But then once I was in the gym and flipping about, I just loved it.
Fantastic. Catherine wants to know, how long did you train when you were about 10 or 11, and what were your favourite pieces of apparatus back then?
I used to train probably 15 to 20 hours when I was 10 or 11. Favourite apparatus, probably in competition it was always floor, because you can use your own music, you can sort of show off your personality a bit more. In training it's got to be bars, just because you can be a bit more original. There's a lot more skills that you can have a go at. If they don't quite work, you can move on to something else, whereas on floor you're quite restricted, or at least I am, just with my various ankle injuries. And we can definitely say being was never my favourite.
Andy wants to know, outside of gymnastics, how do you relax? And he also wants to know, what would be your perfect weekend? I guess he means without training.
That would be an amazing weekend, no training. I can't remember the last weekend I had with no training. So outside of gymnastics, probably just shopping. I think that's every girl. Cinema, going out with friends, catching up with family. I don't get to see them that often because obviously I moved away from home. So it's quite nice to go home, and they've got a new puppy. So I go home mainly to see the puppy. And an ideal weekend, probably with friends and family, a theme park, shopping, a night out, and some good food.
Fair enough, sounds good to me. Karen wants to know, how do you cope with injuries and having to miss out on big competitions because of them?
Injuries are the hardest part of any athlete's career, not just the gymnast. Unfortunately, I've had my fair share of injuries, and they've not always come at the best time. I think one of the hardest was obviously 2006 Commonwealth Games. I had to withdraw 2 days before the actual competition with an ankle injury, and it is hard to sit and watch everyone. You've done the same amount of training, but I'm always been one to sort of put it to the back of my mind. There's nothing you can do about it. You've got to move on from it. If you let it sort of affect you, then it'll affect the rest of that year or the rest of your training session. So it's kind of put it in the past and get on with it.
Cool. Rich has got a similar question, really. As you now just train bars and floor, what kind of physical impact does that have on your body, do you think?
There's still a lot of physical impact. I mean, floor, you've got the area that we use, although it is slightly sprung, it can be quite tough on my body. So leading up to a competition, I'll train on that, but during off-season, I'm always on the tumble track or the trampoline. I use soft mats. And obviously bars, just the amount of sort of work that I do through my shoulders, I've used a lot of wear tear through that. So I've got a shoulder specialist that keeps an eye on me at the minute. But other than that, it's just a case of get on with it.
Fair enough. John wants to know, being an elite gymnast and having grown up within gymnastics, do you ever feel as though you missed out on anything, the normal life, so to speak?
A lot of people ask me, do I think I lost out on a childhood? And I always give the same answer, no. I mean, it was hard sometimes when I used to go into school. People would be talking about the parties they went to or the adventure trip they went on, and obviously I couldn't always go to them. My coach did let me go to the ones that I was free, but if there was competitions that clashed or training national squads, then obviously they came first. So I wouldn't say that I've missed out on anything. I've gained a lot more. I've been able to travel the world. I've met so many different people and experienced a lot of things that people would never be able to experience.
Now, Catherine wants to know, after the 2008 Olympics, you came so close to getting a medal. How close were you then to quitting, and kind of how did you turn that mentality around?
I think the 2008 Olympics was the one competition that I found the hardest to get over. I mean, I thought that was my last opportunity at going to an Olympics. I did an interview a couple of hours after, and someone showed it to me recently, and they said, "What about 2012?" And I just basically laughed in their face and said, "No, I'll leave it to the youngsters. My body won't hold out." But it was so close, but so far, and I didn't want to talk to anyone. I hated it, but I came home, I booked a flight, I went on holiday with my flatmate, and within the week I texted my coach saying, "What time am I back in the gym?" And that was kind of the end of it. I put it behind me and got on with it.
Riho, who is from Tokyo, unbelievably, wants to firstly thank you for giving him an autograph when you were in Tokyo recently, but he also wants to know what makes you so strong as a gymnast, do you think?
I think the fact that I can put failures behind me. Failure is success, a lot of people say. If you don't fail, then you'll never succeed, because you'll always find things easy. I can't remember the question.
Just what makes you so strong as a gymnast, I guess.
Yeah,
dedication, talent.
Yeah,
there's got to be talent there, surely.
There is a little bit of talent, but I think determination. I won't give up. I'm quite stubborn. My dad will tell you that one. I always like to have the last word in an argument, but if someone tells me I can't do something, then I'll prove them wrong and go out and try and do it.
Sandra wants to know, as it's now 100 days before the Olympics, how do you start to prepare yourself kind of mentally for such a big competition?
It's difficult. You still prepare yourself as you would for a major championships. Our national coach keeps telling us it's the same competition, it's just the World Championships, it's just the European Championships, but obviously there is a lot more media hype. So at the minute I wouldn't say I'm doing anything different, but I guess leading up to the competition, phones might have to be switched off, otherwise constantly phone calls and texts will be coming through.
Ellie wants to know, what do you plan on doing when your gymnastics career is over?
That's a very good question. If anyone else has the answer, I'd love it. I'll never walk away from gymnastics. It's been too much of a part of my life. I don't think I could do coaching full time like Amanda does, because I know how much of a pain I can be at times, and I don't think I've got the patience to be a full-time coach. I had got a place at university to do physiotherapy, but I've just recently put that on hold just because the start date was so close to the finishing of the Olympics, and I want to go on holiday and stuff. And I don't know is the honest answer, and I think hopefully opportunities will come my way and I'll just have to see where they take me.
Thank you. Catherine wants to know, did you ever try any other types of gymnastics when you first started? And why did you choose artistic?
No, I didn't. I went straight into artistic. The club that I started at, I think that's all they offered. They did do a bit of trampolining, but the youngsters, I think, were all just sort of taken into the recreational artistic side, and then as you got older you sort of branched out, by which time I'd already sort of made my commitment to artistic.
Graham wants to know, how do you manage to fit so much into your bars routine, and kind of who comes up with the routines? I guess Amanda studies things and suggests things to you.
Yeah, I think Amanda's definitely the main person that makes up the routines. After the 2007 World Championships, it got to a point where my routine was getting the same. The judges kind of knew what they were going to deduct and give me the score before I'd even done the routine. So that my coach was like, we need to put a new wow factor in, and that's when she suggested to do the catch ev, wear a catch with my hands crossed, which has obviously been named after me now. But I guess she's a stupid one for suggesting it, but I'm the stupid one because I thought, yeah, why not? Let's have a go at it. And the first time I did it, I thought I was going to fly through the air, but yeah, Amanda's the main person that makes up the routines, and it's just a lot of numbers and a lot of splatting before I get it correct.
Now, Amy sent in a few questions, so I'll only ask a few. Sorry, Amy. She wants to know, in your opinion, having travelled the world and competed everywhere, which has been your favourite country to compete in and why?
That's really difficult. I've been to so many places. I mean, obviously America is great. In 2003 we went to LA for the World Championships. we were 2 blocks from Disney, and that was kind of our well done present for qualifying for the Olympics. But I also enjoyed Melbourne. I've been there a few times. I actually preferred Melbourne to Sydney, whereas a lot of people prefer it the other way around. So I've just been lucky that I've been able to travel to so many different countries. A lot of my friends go travelling and they're always saying, do you not feel like you should go travelling? And I think I've done it all already.
Amy also wants to know, who do you think your main competitors are? I guess all of this year, but specifically looking at the Olympics.
It's difficult. You're always going to have a few people that are just going to show up for the Olympics, but you've got Mustafina, obviously she's making a really good recovery after the nasty injury last year. Komova, she's been up there with the world title on bars. Kexin, she's current Olympic champion. She's did really well at a recent World Cup. So there's so many people, and obviously Nasty is trying to make a comeback for the Games as well. So there'll be a lot of names out there, and it's Olympic Games. It happens every 4 years, and everyone wants to be in a final and come home with a medal.
Now Amy's gone on a slightly different tangent with her last question. She wants to know, do you get time for phone or computer games, and if so, what are your favourites?
Phone and computer games. I had a recent fix with Pandora. No, what was it? Professor Layton. I'm about 10 years too late, I know, but for some reason in Doha, me and Hannah spent the whole time trying to work out those puzzles. But to be honest, I don't really spend that much time on computer games.
So what do you do when you're obviously away so much, stuck in hotel rooms? How do you pass the time, I guess?
A lot of DVDs. Everyone tends to take box sets with them. Some of the lads do take their Xboxes and Nintendos with them. So everyone is slightly different. Some of them got college work. I've got college work as well. So we all have different things to bide the time.
Now only a couple of questions to go, Beth. This one's from our friend at the BBC, Ollie Williams. He wants to know red or blue Bounty, and I think he's referring there to dark or milk chocolate. This is apparently a question that Ollie asks a lot of Olympians, so it's what everyone wants to know.
The blue one, I'm guessing, is the milk, so milk chocolate all the way. No dark chocolate.
Another question from Will Conliffe, actually, who's someone I believe you know, and now this is a question he asks a lot of people. What are your top 3 foods on a finger buffet, Beth?
Prawn bonbons.
Okay.
I don't even know. He's put me on the spot. He even told me he was going to tweet this question in. I'll think of the answers.
I'll have some words with him when I see him, don't you worry. Finally, Beth, there's going to be a question actually coming in from me. Hopefully you can see the little screen in front of you. Going to see, we've been looking at the competitions that Liv's been running. Do you recognise this girl, Beth? Anyone you know?
That would be me.
That would be you, correct. And you can blame your parents for that, and of course...
That's quite a decent picture, actually.
It's your dad's birthday today, I'm hearing,
is,
so
yeah.
happy birthday to
Happy
Jerry
birthday,
Tweddle.
Dad.
Beth, finally, thank you so much for joining us. I know how busy you are at the moment, but we really appreciate it. I hope everyone's enjoyed watching back at home.